Welcome to today's 5-minute Bible study in the Gospel of Mark. Today we're looking at the last part of Mark chapter 4. That's found in verses 35 through verse 41. Now Jesus had been teaching by the Sea of Galilee, by the lake, and teaching about the kingdom, the parables of the kingdom. And after he finishes this teaching, he and his disciples get in a boat and cross over to the other side of the lake, or the Sea of Galilee. And during this crossing over, they encounter a storm. And this provides the setting for another wondrous miracle of Jesus, where he shows his authority, the authority of the king. Let's read about it. Now that day when evening came, this is after a day full of teaching of the crowds about the kingdom. When evening came, Jesus said to the disciples, "Let us go over to the other side." So they left the crowd behind. They took him along as he was in the boat. There were also other boats with him. A furious squall came up. The waves broke over the boat. It was nearly swamped. Jesus was in the stern, sleeping on a cushion. The disciples woke him and said, "Teacher, don't you care if we drown?" He got up, rebuked the wind, and said to the waves, "Quiet, be still." And the wind died down. It was completely calm. He said to his disciples, "Why are you so afraid? Do you still have no faith?" They were terrified. They asked one another, "Who is this? Even the wind and the waves obey him." Now this is a very familiar miracle to us. The disciples with Jesus, they're crossing over the Sea of Galilee. Now Jesus is tired. He's been teaching all day. And so he goes to sleep in the stern of the boat. He's lying on a cushion. And suddenly this storm arises and it becomes furious rather quickly. High waves washing over the boat. They're afraid they'd be swamped and overturned. In their fear, they wake Jesus. "Master, don't you care that we're about to drown?" And then Jesus speaks to the storm. He says, "Be still, be quiet." And suddenly everything is calm. The storm ceases. Calmness comes over the lake. The disciples are amazed. Even the wind, even the waves obey him. You remember one of the themes we've seen throughout the Gospel of Mark is as they recognize the authority of Jesus, authority in his teaching, authority over evil spirits, he casts them out. Authority to heal disease. Authority to forgive sins. And now he has authority to speak to the storm, the forces of nature, and to bring calmness and peace. They know this is more than just a prophet, but this Jesus, he is the Son of God among us. He speaks to nature with authority. He stills the storm. He controls the waves. He is God come to us. They might not be able to articulate all of that yet, but they're coming to that kind of faith as they see another aspect to his authority. They've already seen that, and now they see more. He speaks control over the very forces of nature. Why? Because he is the author of nature. He is the creator of all. And he can tell the storm to be still, and he does. You know, oftentimes in the Bible, the sea, the waters are seen as places of the chaos of nature. The storms on the ocean, the storms on the sea, that sort of thing. But they don't control Jesus. He controls them. And in the midst of the storm, he says, "Peace, be still." And he brings that calmness to the waters. He also speaks to the storms that sometimes arise in our life, to the chaos that often wants to engulf us, the storms we go through. And he speaks peace and calmness, for he is the Lord of all. Oh, what the disciples saw that day, and what we too will see when we listen carefully to the voice of Jesus speaking, "Peace, be still." Now, in tomorrow's session, we'll start looking at chapter 5. When Jesus arrives on the other side of the sea, he encounters another man who is demon-possessed in a very extraordinary way, by a legion of demons, as it were. But he's going to set that man free. We'll start looking at that in our next session. So join us next time for our 5-minute Bible study in the Gospel of Mark.